SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. For decades, Steve Vamos has been working on the front lines of technological change and its workplace implications. He's an author and former CEO of cloud-based accounting software business Xero. So who better to offer advice on managing workplace change? Steve has 8 steps to follow, but first explains to Jeff Waters why he decided to write his latest book on the subject.
There was a period in my career where I had this experience that amplified many things that I'd been taught early in my career in the management school of IBM.
Not a bad management school.
It was the best I have certainly come across in 40 years. The expectation that you are prepared, you are skilled, you are capable in the area of people management at IBM in those days was mandatory. If you were a great salesperson or technical person and became a manager, if you didn't prove to be good at it over a period of time, you'd go back to sales or technical. They wouldn't allow people who weren't good at it to rule over the day of many people at work. So what happened was about 20 years into my career, I became the CEO of 9MSN. It was a startup digital media business when there was no digital media advertising market. It was zero. No one was doing it.
I remember it well.
Yeah, it was a joint venture between Microsoft and the biggest media company at the time, which was Kerry Packer's PBL. And I went into that job knowing nothing about advertising and media, which was the business of the business. I was hired because of my management experience in the technology sales side of the industry, IT industry. So for a couple of years, I went into every meeting being the person who knew least about what was being discussed. I had the least domain knowledge of everyone. And so all I could do was ask questions, identify what could be done to fix issues that were getting in the way of people's work, and then make sure that as CEO, I saw them fixed and made sure if it wasn't me doing it, that others fixed those problems. After leading that way for 2.5 years, we emerged as the industry leader. We had an amazing culture and a workplace that people loved. And I was sitting in my office thinking, wow, what a blessing that I've had this opportunity to be a CEO of an organization where I am the least knowledgeable person, because all I did was help others. All I did was focus on clarity, getting us aligned, having honest conversations about how we were going. And so in a sense, everything in my book is common sense, but unfortunately it's not common practice. And I think it isn't because even though we say the words that people are our greatest asset, I don't know that in the actions of people in workplaces, the actions they've observed, their management over the years and actions they still see today, live to that real belief. So I got a level of conviction about the importance of doing things to make workplaces better for people that I think is different to many others. And I wanted to capture that in the book.
Well, we don't have the time to go through every single lesson in that book. And you've just described putting common sense into actual practice. But what are some of the key take-out messages from the book that you can summarize for us?
Well, look, common sense is not always simple and easy. Someone said to me that the simplest things are often the hardest to do. So, simple thing, you need to have difficult conversations to iron out your purpose and your priorities, because there are different opinions, different views. You have to have difficult conversations to get your resources lined up with the things that are most important. Sometimes you have to take resources from one person and give them to another. And similarly, when you want to check in on how things are going, you need to have some pretty difficult conversations about performance. So as simple as that all sounds, it's hard to do because we're human and we are fearful of hurting others' feelings. And we are also very, very protective of ourselves when we're confronted with change until we understand what that change means to us. So really in the book, I sort of touch on the human piece of us dealing with change. We all are challenged because our human state means that fear is that default reaction, that our egos do drive us to want to protect ourselves in the face of changes that sometimes we can't control or won't control. So I tried to get into that element of, mindset and self-awareness at the same time as really going through the more functional things that I touched on just before, clarity, alignment, performance review, and having the difficult conversations. So what I've tried to do is break it down to the 8 things that really matter most, because there are many, many books on leadership, teamwork, change, and they cover lots of really good stuff. But what I've tried to do is simplify it and say, just do these 8 things in some shape or form better every day, even a little bit better, and your change efforts, your team, your performance will improve.
You'll have to list those 8 things for us now, Steve.
Okay. It's about applying the right mindset, which means facing into change with an open mindset that is not as easy to do as to say. The second one is about being self-aware, so that's the key. If you're self-aware, you can observe yourself in a meeting, you can observe yourself reacting to something difficult and make sure that you bring out the best version of yourself rather than the one that is more instinctive and likely to snap or be fearful or being upset. The third is, this is profound, you have to care about people. Change is a human thing more than a technology thing. And so you have to care about people more than you care about technology. So they're the 3 of the 8, and they're about being, who we are, how we act, how we respond. The 5, I've touched on 3 already, which is clarity, being clear about your purpose and priorities. Alignment, which is moving your resources, all of them, to line up with what your intentions are. Performance focus, which is making sure you're reviewing how it's going. Because remember, you're like a sailing boat in change. You're not going from A to B in a straight line. You're tacking back and forth as conditions change and as you learn. So those 3 things, clear, aligned, performance focus, are really key. And then at the heart of it connects the being with the doing in a sense, because that's about whether you face into having difficult conversations and making the hard choices you have to make to do those things really well.
That's Steve Vamos, author and former Xero CEO. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel.